Okay. All right. It is 8:05, so let's go ahead and get started. And this is Tank Tour Tuesday for the month of May. And this month we are featuring Tim is going to be showing off. I think you've got a saltwater aquarium and you've got I think a couple of two or three freshwater aquariums. So without further ado, Tim, floor is all yours.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. So yeah, my name's Tim. I live in the Hudson Valley here in New York. I've been, saltwater tanks since I was a kid. My dad had a tank with 55 gallon with the good old Paul B, under gravel filter, not the reverse, but your old traditional drop in your air stones and get salt creep all over the top of your tank. But we've always had fish. Took a little hiatus for about 10 years. Got back into the hobby in, I'd say, 2017, 2018. Was kind of shocked that Fiji was shut down, and everything I knew is kind of relearning, technology change, no more metal halides, everybody's running LEDs. So it was a little learning experience, but fun, to get back into the hobby. So appreciate the opportunity to kind of showcase the tank. This tank has been up and running for 5 years. When we moved into this house, I moved my 120 standard actually into the basement in the middle of January before the house was finished, because we sold our house and we had to move. And I did not want to move the tank twice. So I basically got the builders okay to put it down there as they finished it up, wrapped it in 1 inch foam insulation to make sure that it stayed warm. I had no losses, luckily. And then, once we got into the house a few months later, set this tank up, let it cycle through. And I'll just kind of run through the tank now. It's a 110 gallon or 150 gallon 3/4 cylinder. It's an Aquavim glass tank. I was lucky enough to live close enough to Aquavim. They really sell out of Queens. I'm gonna just shut this light off and get a little bit less glare. It's one of the challenges with a curved tank is you just get a lot of glare when you're trying to do video and photos, and don't mind the water. It's not actually dirty. I'm just getting a lot of micro bubbles in there. So the fish are not happy because they're all supposed to be sleeping right now. We have 20 fish in here. We got four female lyre tails, one male, a couple dwarf angels. There's the Midas. He's hanging out up top there. There's a little Vanderbilt Chromis. There's three of those. We got a starry blenny. He's already in his camouflage for the night, so he's perched out under there. So he's super dark, a little hard to see. Leopard wrasse is already buried. Again, it thinks it's nighttime already. Here we go. We got a little strawberry conch here. This is from Inverted Reefs. A little scarlet there. There's one of the mandarins just picked up from Jeff. Actually, there's two of them in there, male and a female. They are cruising the reef, starting to get fat. One of the favorites here, a little long-nosed hawkfish. A lot of these corals came from my other tank. I got some frog spawn hammer, got the hammer skeleton in the back. Did not like this new tank. Big old piece of coral up top. Simularia, some more frog spawn. This torch that got basically has one head. I don't know how many's on here. He's a little unhappy. He's a little closed up right now. Like I said, lights are normally out at this time in the night, so everybody's rhythms are all off. Nice biota yellow tang back there. A couple pair of Darwin clowns back there. They love to lay their eggs on the overflow there, so they tend to hang out in the back. I know that there's no eggs when they start coming out a little bit more. See if we can get some food in here. Maybe we can get them out front. Oh, sorry, guys. Hang tight. Doing a little handheld. Running a Kessel up top.
Which model Kessel is that? The
Uh,
AP9X?
AP9X. Yeah,
Yeah.
really like it. When I was researching lights, I really wanted the metal halide shimmer. And, just from everything I kind of saw and read, the Kessel was really the most recommended from everybody. And yeah, I would say you definitely get a nice shimmer. I mean, you can see on the sand down there, you just get that nice reflection.
What kind of foods do you feed your fish?
I try to give them a nice mixture. So, LRS, bought a ton of the frozen from um, Live Aquarium when they had their sales. There's, your Brian's, Mysis, nori, of course. I do some flake food, so yeah, I just toss a little bit in here of the prime reef. Got some formula 2 in there as well. Really just try to mix it up as much as I possibly can. I got some white worm culture that's going. Yeah, okay, so there we go. We got some action. There's the starry coming out. Super big. He's kind of the boss of the tank, but he's not super aggressive, to believe it or not. Him and the Midas got into it a little bit. He actually stole that perch. That was the Midas's perch. They went back and forth a little bit, but the Midas kind of took a back seat and found his new spot underneath that yellow leather.
Right off the bat, this is a gorgeous tank. Like I like how big your leather corals are here.
Yeah, so most of the leathers and everything, I mean, they all came from the 120. This guy needs a trim. This is getting a little bit long down here. So, some of these ricks are getting all kind of covered up, losing some brightness down there, but really want to get those spreading out. Little where is he? Come on out, guy. Little possum rasp back there. He's a little fatty, cruises around.
So what do you use to clean the glass here?
Yeah, he's actually one of the hammer magnets. It works pretty well. Sometimes you have to go over a couple spots, just because the curve. Use the scraper from time to time. You can see like the core line down here is it's a little bit harder to get. Kind of have a line in the sand there. I don't really want to get down into the sand too much and pick up, sand and start scratching the glass up. But it works fairly well. I just tried to get something super strong, give me enough opportunity with the curve of the glass to.
Is this like a curved tank specific magnet or like the regular standard?
No, believe it or not, I search for curved magnets. I can't find them anywhere. Search and search and search. I'm like, somebody's got to make these. They make them for like the nano tanks, but nothing this big. I mean, this is what, I think this is half inch glass, so it's fairly thick. And yeah, I mean, if any, like for me, I didn't want an acrylic. So I wanted, this was kind of the only spot we had really that was easy to throw a tank into. It actually sits right next to our kitchen, so it kind of blends in really.
Yeah. How tall is this tank?
I think it's 32 total.
Jeez.
So yeah, that's a challenge. This devil's hand got a little angry at me yesterday because it's kind of tipped over and more towards this bubble that really has never, been happy in this tank since I moved it up here. So yeah, it's a little bit challenging to kind of get in there and do some maintenance. I use pretty much like barbecue tongs that are 24 inches long to kind of get in there and poke around a little bit. You need a second set of eyes to kind of tell you where you are, as you're trying to set things up. And yeah, I've got the Nem that he's been living up by this power head, living dangerously out back there.
So this looks like a difficult tank to do maintenance on. Is that accurate?
No, not really. I mean, I get in here and kind of just scrub it down once a month. I've got a little bit of hair algae that's growing back there, but I'll show you guys. I got some Mexican turbos that I'm quarantining right now. I think once they get in there, they're going to pretty much take care of, the back panel, which gets a little bit of hair algae in it.
No, I love the soft corals. I've always had a soft place in my heart for soft corals.
Yeah, I got some Galaxia down here, two different colors. The pistol I got from Inverted Reef. He's actually down in that hole. It's the red Japanese one. He's kind of excavated. You can see the line there on that back rock. He kind of excavated out that green Galaxia. I had to throw it in back a little bit further because it kept tipping over. But yeah, this stuff is kind of spreading a little bit like crazy right down here on the sand. Throws out some crazy long runners, especially at night.
For curved magnets, I think I saw at Denver Reef Stock this year. There was a new vendor who was doing curved magnets for I can't remember what size tanks he had, but I remember stopping by the booth and seeing them. Might be worth checking out the vendor list just to see if you could figure out who it was if you're struggling at all with keeping the glass clean?
No, I definitely will. I mean, obviously, something made for curved glass would certainly be much better than a flat magnet because, like I said, you kind of have to go over it a bunch. If you don't stay on top of it, like I cleaned the glass last night, and there's definitely still some spots like it's probably hard to capture on here. Oh, you can see that one little spot right there hanging out. It's hard to get some spots sometimes. Yeah, and
Do
then
you find that it scratches the glass at all?
no, I haven't had any
Huh.
scratching. Yeah,
What
there's
do
a
you
little,
what do you do
there's a little
to
more
clean
there.
the bottom part, if anything?
So close to the sand here.
Yeah, do you do that ever?
Yeah, you can see I kind of scraped it last night a little bit, but you can still I try not to get too close. I basically just put the stainless steel blade on it and I kind of just go back and forth really gently, not trying to pick up any sands. And just kind of I let it build up a little bit more so it gets a little thicker, so it kind of just chips right off when I do catch it. I found that that works a little bit easier. So I'll let this build up to be about like an inch or so above the sand and kind of just go through and chisel away and chunk it off.
How old is this tank? Like, I know that you said that you transferred some stuff from your other tank. How long has this one been
This one will
running?
be up 5 years come September, so about 4.5 years old. Trying to get that mandarin. He's hanging out. Yeah, he's going back to the back. And this damn chromis wants to hang.
You got a pair of them or just one? You got a male or a female?
Yeah, I picked up the pair. Jeff was able to grab pairs on the last order, actually. I think he got 6 total, and I think he got two, maybe 2 or 3 pairs. There's the little one. It's kind of hard to see back there, but she's cruising. There she is.
Biota ones or wild ones?
These are wild. Yeah, this
Okay.
just got in his last order that he released out.
I gotta talk to him how he quarantined those. I wonder if he
Uh,
like did
he
he
has
do
a little chef that helps him out with that.
Yeah, his HTTM
Yeah.
guy did it.
okay,
Yeah,
gotcha,
I know who
gotcha.
it is.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, okay. So he did
Yeah.
hybrid TTM because I've been going back and forth with some vendors about whether or not they can actually tolerate chelated copper. I mean, we know they can't tolerate copper sulfate or cupramine, but it actually appears that in some cases, dragonets can tolerate chelated copper. So do your dwarf angels and any of those nip?
No, I mean every once in a while I kind of see them just picking. I think they do it more to pick the food out of the corals, like especially the leathers. Even the leopard will do it. It gets caught in these polyps and they kind of just come through and just, kind of pick out, especially like these leathers, the polyps get pretty extended out. You can see them there. They'll just pick up some of the food and they'll kind of go through and just pick them out. But again, not picking at the corals. This guy's not happy because the torch has just gotten too close to him.
Is
So
that another devil's hand leather?
what's that?
Is that leather that you're looking at right now another devil's hand?
That's actually a yellow from
Okay.
I think it was Australia, maybe it came out of. So it's not a Fiji yellow. It's looking a little bit more tan with the lights on. Yeah, the way that they are. I think if I had it up a little higher, probably get a little bit more yellow out of it. But it's also, like I said, it's kind of not happy. You can see this whole side is like, nope, torch is getting too close. And yeah, my kind of snail and crab graveyard down here.
There's no lack of homes down
No, and
there.
I keep saying I'm going to clean it up, and then you try to get your hand in a 3-foot tank, and it's not always the most fun thing to do. Yeah, there's that mandarin, bigger guy coming out. This guy was a little bit skinny coming in, but I've been feeding some pods every week, been dosing some new ones. The refugium is packed with pods, so I actually was just running no filter stocks for the last 2 weeks to try to kind of replenish and make sure enough pods were coming through the system.
I
So
like
what kind of
I like your aquascaping. I like all those little, you've got the rock kind of lifted up and you got all those little, nooks and crannies and caves and stuff. That's really cool how you got that.
Yeah, it was a little bit more arched out. Again, how I kind of found you with, cutting through Manhattan Reefs, I had to break it all down and pretty much take all the fish out pretty much 6 months in when I had, which I think it was Velvet that pretty much started knocking everything out and rescaping it. I mean, I took a picture and tried to do it, but I was doing it by myself versus with somebody. And, this arch was a little bit more open in the middle. It's kind of closed down a little bit. This side has settled a little bit. that plateau used to be a little bit higher up and more flat. Oh, look at there's the mandarin making an appearance in the possum rest. And then there's the female. Or actually, I don't know which one's which. Male's bigger, female's bigger. I'm not sure.
The male is usually bigger, and he's got like a little point on his dorsal fin. The female, it's more rounded.
Yeah, he came in super skinny. I mean, Jeff wanted them out the door as quickly as possible because obviously, once he got them back, you can't really feed them very well. So, but they've been cruising, they've been eating. The female is fattened up, male is getting a little bit bigger. His tail was split when I got him in shipment, so that's healed up pretty well. So he's healthy. Yeah, hopefully get him back and fattened up.
Yeah,
He hasn't quite figured out white worms yet, though.
yeah, white worms are like if you can get live black worms from a store. Because my pair, the female wasn't so much into it, but the male would go crazy over live black worms. He would start knocking. Like actually, I remember one time there was a black worm in between him and the female. He actually like bulldozed her to get that black worm. I mean, he just had this thing for black worms.
Yeah, I did notice he was picking at frozen or like the mysis, the spirulina brine. He couldn't really figure it out, but if they got close enough to him, I definitely see him going towards the actual sand when I'm feeding, and I think he's picking up on the sand, the movement, and he is picking at him. So, hopefully they'll just continue to take to some frozen, and like I said, they're cruising. I mean, he's out there, they're picking all day long. I see him, between the rocks, and they basically stay on the lower third level of the tank.
Yeah.
They'll get up to around like this leather, and they kind of cruise on this first section of rocks. But they've been definitely out a little bit more in the open too, which is good to see. I think they're just getting a little more comfortable. I mean, they've only been in for a few weeks, so. And
Yeah.
I've got this one piece of Aptasia that I somehow uncovered, didn't know that it was in there.
Uh,
Gonna have to take care of that so it doesn't spread like wildfire. It may just be an excuse to try another butterfly.
There you go.
Although this might be a snack for a butterfly, this tank.
No.
What is the diameter on it?
I think it's 28 wide, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
It might be a little bit bigger. I'll have to double check dimensions. I mean, total volume is 115. I mean, honestly, a lot of people don't like the curved glass, but I think it just makes it look a little bit bigger, kind of magnifies everything, but not to the point where it's distorted unless you're really kind of like looking down the side there. And actually, this part right here, if you actually feel with your hand, there's like a small flat section that you can't really see, but like this straight on is actually a flat part right there. That's distort.
So for flow, it looks like you have two vortex. Is that correct?
They're Jabeos.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna do Vortex, but it's so close to the wall over here that I need something that's got a really, thin magnet that I can get back there. But these guys work well. Little hair algae in there, but
Flap it in the wind.
yeah, like I said, some Mexican turbos will hopefully take care of all of that. I got a little bit back there too. Doesn't really grow anywhere except kind of on the back black part of the tank, so it's not terrible. I don't do a lot of testing. I kind of just look to see how everything is doing and do my water changes, make sure everything is doing well. I think I'm getting a little more now just because I feed a lot more with all the wire tails in there, just making sure everybody's enough food.
How often do you do water changes?
At least once every 2 weeks usually. Sometimes I'll let it go about a month. If the tank looks good and it's not getting dirty, I'll let it go a month. Do about 30 gallons on it. I mean, the total system. I mean, we can go downstairs if you guys want to see a little bit of the filtration setup.
Sure, we could head down there.
Great. There's the Barky Barkalots sleeping away. Thank goodness.
Sleeping.
I don't know if you mentioned this. What kind of lights are you running?
It's a Kessel
Castle. Okay.
XP9 AP9X. I think is the.
And what kind of salt do you use for your water changes?
Reef crystals.
Okay.
Yeah. I went over to Aquaforest and the Duncan that I have in there pretty much closed up and started to die off. The only change I made was the Reef crystals, and when I went back to it about a month later, he popped back. So got a little 20-gallon long set up here that's tied into the system. Sump is, I don't know, probably like 50, maybe 45, 50 gallons total water volume. Just added a whole bunch of these like bio bricks. Try to get a little bit more, denitrifying bacteria. Run 6-inch or 4-inch socks. Like I said, I had these pulled off because I really wanted the pod population from the 75-gallon fuge to really get up into the tank with those mandarins.
Oh, nice. You got like little mangroves going. I like that.
Yeah, you can see here, you got all these pods that are just
Oh, yeah.
all over the side of the glass. I've stopped scraping it just so that they got a place to kind of hang out and live. Tons and tons of worms. I mean, this super, super mature. And yeah, just cheap grow lights that are on here. Might get a little bit better if we turn off the reds.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. So you're probably your nitrates and phosphates stay pretty low, huh?
I would assume so. I really don't test them to be completely honest. Like, I mean, the system's been up for so long; it's fairly mature. Like I said, I kind of just gauge, my water quality based off of how the corals are doing. If they're nice and opened, I know everything's doing well. I mean, yeah, this macro got a little bit out of control. I mean, this thing was like filled to the brim. Also, I didn't realize my skimmer silencer was a little clogged up, so it wasn't skimming as well. Now that it's skimming back again, I might have to actually put that on a timer and not skim as much. Some of this has actually died off, just because I think the levels have dropped so much. Running that skimmer full blast again, which I don't mind. I mean, this was literally packed from wall to wall. I would have to rip this out pretty much with every water change, almost down to pretty much what it looks like. And 2 weeks later, this whole tank would be pretty much filled back up again. And then, yeah, we got the 20 long. So I just picked that flasher wrasse up from Dirks. They just got bullied. Same thing with this guy. This is why he's down here. He got bullied in that tank upstairs. I mean, he lost actually this entire tail. Turned white. Thought I was going to lose him, but most of it's grown back. It's not full, but it's healed up. He's happy down here. This guy's happy down here. He's just hanging. Recent pickup from Joe. Probably get them up in the tank eventually. Probably just going to leave them down here, let them grow out a little bit. The Goni, I'll probably move up there. That opens up pretty well. Just a cheap little grow light on this right now. And yeah, quarantining. And yes, I'm breaking the rules, Bobby, because I'm not really that worried about this stuff. Just really quarantining rocks and inverts. Picked up a couple of clams, ORA clams. I lost the 2 Maximas, but the Duresa is doing well. And then yeah, a bunch of Mexican turbos, zebra turbos. These guys are super cool. They're huge. Yeah, there's one down there. This stuff's got, I don't know if it's Aptasia or it's that bubble anemones, but this will end up going in
Like
that 20 long.
curlicues.
Yeah. I'm going to move all this up to the 20 long and just, kind of either grow out some fish in here, or if there's fish that just don't get accepted into the larger tank, pretty much kind of be their home.
What are you using to feed the snails in quarantine?
Actually just picked up some nori from the grocery store. Break that up, throw a sheet in there. By the next morning, gone.
I find that mine tends to break apart and just kind of float all over the place. Are you like attaching it to a grid or rocks or anything like that?
Jam it right down in that hole right there. Actually, this morning when I came in, because these lights run opposite cycle of the actual tank, it floated up here, and yeah, they were all just attached to it. They didn't care. They got to it, and we're all just kind of hanging and eating it. So, but no, I'd find that too. Like, we don't kind of jam it, wedge it in a rock. I think these guys are so big. Once they get a hold of it, it's not going anywhere.
That makes sense. I'm struggling with my Turkish snails, trying to keep them fed.
Yeah, they seem, like I said, seems to work. I mean, I dropped some regular food in because I've got hermits in here, got some scarlets, some Halloween. Also just some blue legs, couple, some snails. Pretty much picked up like small cleaner pack from Reef Cleaners when I picked up the turbos and everything. I mean, it basically made it free shipping. So I was like, hey, what the heck? I could replenish some snails and crabs. And since I have this 20 long, I'll probably take all those smaller snails and, just throw them up into here to kind of keep this clean. And I'll clean out all this macro, once this rock moves up here. But pretty much doing just 45 days at 81 degrees and make sure nothing's coming in on this. I mean, I learned my lesson once and won't really take that chance, even though I don't honestly think there's going to be an issue. But otherwise,
How is your Mexican turbos holding up at that temperature?
they're fine. Everybody's been doing good. Yeah, I mean, you can see this zebra is just cruising right now on the glass. When lights are on, they're usually pretty inactive, but as soon as lights go off, yeah, as soon as I drop the nori in there, they go nuts. They just come straight down if they're up on the glass, and they go find it right away.
And you said these all came from Reef Cleaners?
Yeah.
See, snails from him are going to do better at that 81 degree Fahrenheit because I think he basically collects everything out of the Gulf. Whereas, like if you order from someone else and they're like Indo-Pacific snails, they're going to struggle more because they're used to the cooler water.
This guy's so happy, man. He hit up in the top corner of that 115, and that long-nosed hawkfish just brutalized him, man. He did not like it.
That's the thing with hawkfish, man. They're awesome. They got great personalities, but if there's a fish that's like a similar, like shape or something, they can kind of open up a can of whoop ass.
Yeah, and the flasher, I mean, he was out. Like he would keep coming out, man, but they just didn't want him to be out. So he'd come out for a bit, he'd eat, and he'd kind of poke back and just go hide out in that actually the same exact corner this guy found.
But who went after the flasher wrasse?
And it was kind of like, believe it or not, I think the male Antheus just wanted to kind of corral him. I don't know. The longest hawkfish definitely harassed him too. I mean, that hawkfish just doesn't like new additions.
Because you got leer tails in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, those can be kind of aggressive sometimes, I mean, I know they harass each other, but sometimes as they get bigger, they sometimes start messing with other fish. They're not as bad as like Bimax or something, but they're a little bit more on the aggressive side for Antheus.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, it was more the male kind of corrals actually the Midas plenty along with the other four females too. It's actually pretty funny when you watch him. He starts dive bombing the Midas plenty, and I'm like, dude, he's not part of your pack. But yeah, maybe it's the color, the shape. I don't know. He definitely tries to include him in his harem. Yeah,
Actually, you
big
gotta
old
let
skipper.
this come downstairs. I like that.
Yeah, I run 40 watt UV. Threw this in there after the velvet broke out. Got some carbon at Fosgard back here, but I stopped running it a few months back just to kind of see what happened. Might start the carbon back up because I added some to this tank when the clam died. And a little bit of cyano that was in there pretty much just burned off after I added the carbon. So I might just cruise it, crank it back up some. I mean, I was really running it because of all the leathers, just so there was like limit and warfare a little bit. With that torch getting close to the yellow leather, I think I might just go like half on that and put it on a small trickle just to kind of pull anything that might be in the water out a little bit. But yeah, that's a filter room.
So what do you dose to the system?
I don't dose anything.
Okay.
I just do my water changes, use my 32-gallon bucket. Like I said,
I guess you have such big water volume to coral ratio here, so.
And that was my goal with this. I was like, I want to double the water of the actual tank because I want to pack that tank full and not have to worry about water quality. And then, of course, adding another 20 gallons over here helps a little bit more. So, like I said, I'm not, I don't really kind of a lazy reefer. I don't really like to put a lot of work into it. Obviously, I want everything to be healthy and this isn't a no maintenance system, but for the most part, it's just really making sure everything's trimmed up, cleaning the glass, doing water changes, and clean out that skimmer cup once a month when it gets a little bit full. I'll filter socks usually about once a week. I can get with all 6 of them in there. A little reservoir for top off. Nothing too crazy. And like I said, I just added these bricks in here, just gave a little more filtration. Not that I think I need it. You know, there's rock in here too. Can't really see it. It's probably about 30 pounds in there as well.
Yeah. I would just be curious to know your nitrate level only because it's this never ending argument about whether or not soft corals will die if nitrates are too low. You know, some people, I would just be curious to know if you ever get a chance to test your nitrate, just, where your nitrate stands, because like I'm guessing your nitrate level is probably pretty low with all that macro. So, like, I mean, if your nitrates are like 5 and all your leathers and everything are still doing great, that kind of shoots a little bit of a hole in that theory.
I could certainly test it. Like I said, it's not anything that I really was too crazy on. I mean, obviously when I started to quarantine, I'm testing a lot more just to make sure, nothing is getting crazy and fish are staying alive. I mean, that was really the first time I really paid attention other than just the initial cycle of a tank. Once the tank was cycled, it's kind of like, all right, I kind of watch what it does and just, make sure I'm doing my water change, quality salt. Not that Reef crystals is the highest quality, but from what I'm using, I mean, I'm not trying to grow anything too crazy. It seems to work and everything stays fairly stable and does well. And yeah, the mangroves are more just for fun. I was like, let me throw these in here. Maybe if they get big enough one day, I'll build out a little island down here and maybe grow a tree out of the stump.
Yeah, it's very nice. So does anyone have any questions? You can either just ask it, if you want to turn off your mic turn on your mic and ask a question, or if you just want to ask your question in the chat, either Vince and I or I could ask a question. Any questions?
Have you had your color go sexual reproduction on you in the main tank at all?
No, I mean, I haven't had any issues. Like I said, I run it the opposite cycle of the lights in the tank to try to avoid it. I regularly trim it out,
Hmm.
I just try to keep it at bay. I mean, this is getting a little bit crazy in here. I've got to rip some of this out. So I try to just not let it go too crazy. And like I said, running opposite light cycle, hopefully that, stops it from happening. From everything I've read, that was basically like the recommendation.
We've had a few people join since we came down to your basement. You want to go back upstairs?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just so we get one good look at it.
Yeah, and then we can hop up and take a look at fresh water depending on what time it is, if everybody wants to take a look.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe people have some questions. They'll actually, see the tank and everything. I think it looks great. I think
Hmm.
yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, just like everybody, I think I wanted to put the biggest tank I could possibly fit. And my whole thing was like, oh, we're building a house, 300 plus gallons. And then kind of got in here. And the worst part is we designed the house and I didn't design it into it. I was like, there's no really great spot for 300 gallons.
Hmm.
Oh, look at this guy. He's out front.
Oh, nice. That's probably the male.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could see his tail a little banged up when he came in. So, but he's healing up. He's starting to gain a little bit of weight. So happy to see that.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I like that. That's nice.
This guy is definitely one of my favorites, though, man. What a great personality, perching up in the coral. Just kind of hangs out.
Yeah, but they do tend to like go after like gobies, sometimes blennies. They just, yeah, but they're not as bad as a like a flame hawk or what's the other one, the one that looks like them, but it's, doesn't have the long nose. But yeah, they can be a little bit
Falco?
aggressive sometimes.
I have a Falco hawkfish, and so far he's been very peaceful towards my Watchmen go with their buds.
Nice.
Knock on some wood.
So
Yeah.
you got that blenny in there. He doesn't mess with that, huh?
No, no.
Okay.
No, look at this guy's pretty big, man. These guys have been in here for a few years. These scarlets. Love these chromas. They just love to get right in the middle of everything. This guy's also one of my favorites, man. It's so hard to see him, but he's got his camo on. He's right underneath there, his little skull white face. Such a great personality, the Starry Bunny. I happened to pick him up on a whim. I went to my local fish store and I had just picked up fish from New York Aquatics from Michael Stern, and I saw him in there and I was like, you know what? I got quarantine up. I'm gonna grab him. Always wanted one, nice and fat and healthy. And I just crossed my fingers with the Midas Blenny that it would work out. And yeah, ended up working out.
So the Lear tails, the male, is he red or like more like a blood orange?
Yeah, he's kind of like a purplish, maroony, orangey. I don't think he's fully colored out yet. I mean, I've only had him in here. I think I stocked they were all females when I put him in back in, let's say it was maybe December. And he transitioned once he got in here. So I think he's still got a little bit coloring up to do. Yeah, he's getting there. His middle section is getting a little bit more yellow, yellowish orange.
He acts like he's the tank boss.
Yeah, no, he cruises, but he doesn't really harass anybody. He really more just tries to corral, doesn't really go after anybody in particular. But he's always up front and center. He's the first one to go when food is in. He's right up there waiting.
How many you have him and how many females? You have looks like what, four females?
4 females, yeah. I had 3 originally. He turned to male. Lost one of the females pretty short while after. Don't know why. No signs of anything. Maybe it was just aggression, or I know some people say, they get kicked out of the harem and then they just kind of die off. But it was just kind of out of nowhere. Came in one day and it was just kind of floating on the bottom in the sands and was perfectly fine eating the day before. So not really sure what happens. And then picked up 3 more and added them in after quarantining. And yeah, they all seem to blend together fine.
I'm guessing your yellow tang is not a biota, right?
It is.
It is. Okay. It's really colorful. I kind of got a glimpse of it and I was like, it's a really bright yellow tang.
Yeah, it's definitely very shy. I had a wild that I lost probably about a year ago. I just couldn't get it to get fat. I treated it. There was no parasite that I could see, but it always just had the sunken belly. I had it for about 5 or 6 years, and it's one of my wife's favorite fish. So after a few months, I was like, when I started to restock this tank, that was one of the first that I got, and I'm glad that I did because they're so small when they come in. There was only a few fish in here, so actually when I put him in, he got sucked right into that power head and got stuck on him. I was like, thank God I was watching. But yeah, no, he's colored up really well. He's actually bigger than my the wild caught, but equally as yellow. But yeah, super shy. Does not come out as much as the wild caught, that's for sure.
Hmm.
Likes to hang back here with the clownfish a lot. He'll poke out of the rock, he'll come out and eat, but he tends to cruise the rocks more than anything.
Okay. Anybody, any questions?
Absolutely love the tank.
Thank you.
Fantastic. All the softies and good movement of fish. Looks so great. Great setup.
Thank you.
Lots of movement going on. And also I love the not the regular box. It's just so unique.
Yeah, like I had said earlier, I'm not sure if you're on, but we kind of this was the only spot that worked. And I was like, you're not going to be able to really see this side. That's why this rock kind of bumps out. I really wish I would have wrapped it around a little bit more, but didn't think you'd really be able to see a lot of it, just right up against the refrigerator. And probably could have gone to like the 160 that they had. It would have been about 6 inches more out. And we were just trying to kind of keep everything in line with
I literally look at this tank and to me it's like almost like Chat GDP picture perfect. Seriously.
oh, thank you.
Because you see all the square tanks. This is just so unique and beautiful. Well done.
Thank you. Appreciate it. But yeah, we could take a quick trip upstairs if you guys want and see the freshwater stuff, and
Yeah, that'd be great.
might as well, right? To your point,
Boo, fresh water. Boo. Just kidding.
It's easy to make a cylinder look good.
they are nice. They are pretty. The aesthetic of it is definitely not those hard, sharp corners.
They very often, most of the ones that I've seen don't look very good. Yours does.
Ah, thank you. So yeah, this is a little 9.5 gallon. Really just some small Raspora that are in here. Glare's looking to be a little bit tough on it, but a bunch of shrimp that are in there. Some Corys, they're all probably hiding out.
So you got some what Rotella rotifundia in the back there?
Probably not that from.
Rotella red.
Oh yeah, up in the top. Yeah,
Yeah.
growing out. That stuff grows like weeds. It's over here, but not a
Mm.
little further away.
Yeah, I got the blood red variant in my tank.
And a bunch of ram's horns. There's all the shrimp cruising, just picking at the food from before.
So
So,
are you running,
Looks
CO2 in this tank? Because the plant growth looks really good.
no, nothing in this tank. This has just kind of been doing its thing for the last year and a half, and
So what kind of lights are those on that?
cheap Amazon lights, $20. These are high. This one's a Higer,
Okay.
and this one,
they're good bang for the buck freshwater lights. They're pretty good.
yeah, unfortunately, got some duckweed in this one that hitchhiked in, and God, I can't wait to break this down and get rid of it one day. But the tank looks so good and it's healthy. I kind of just want to leave it doing its thing. But I have two more of these 14 gallons that I want to try to maybe do 14 gallons across here. And then these are some dwarf puffers that are in here. There's there's one of the guys, two of them right there.
Oh, nice.
So this one's running CO2.
Yeah, it's not on right now because I'm battling algae, you can see. So I turned it off just because everything was getting so crazy. Doing a bunch of water changes on here, just trying to get this algae under control. It's a one day having dwarf puffers. You can't really have a cleanup crew in there that just eat them all.
So no like little shrimp in there with them, right?
Nah, they'll pretty much eat anything you try to put in there. I mean, I throw some of the snails in just because it is good for them to eat. It's a good source of food. So every once in a while, I'll throw some of the ram's horns in there. But yeah, they become dinner, and there's the remnants of one right there.
Wow. What is that like? It's like a pretty red plant that's like sticking out of the water in the back. What is that?
The wandering Jew, or well, I call
Oh.
them wandering dudes now because it's politically correct.
Ah. The one I melted? Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I brought back from New Orleans for
In the
you.
back of the truck.
Oh, whatever. That's a long story.
In a plastic.
yeah,
I knew it
This-
looked familiar.
yeah. This was a little like 2-inch pot. Popped it out, washed it off, threw it in there, and yeah, I mean, I pretty much try to grow everything out. These guys just suck up nutrients, so moved a couple clippings over here, and yeah, and then we got this guy in here. It's a little 7.5 gallon little beta. This needs a little bit of a trim, but he loves this tank. He loves all the floating plant roots and kind of just cruises through here. It's kind of hard to see with the glare, but yeah, there's a bunch of some boost down there. Some crypts that are just way out of control.
I just like how much the plants are still growing despite how much coverage you have on the top of it.
It's completely covered. There's no light getting through there. And I just cleaned this out a week ago and threw a bunch of them into my ponds. But yeah, they grow so quick. I mean, they're basically just filtering the water out. There's a little tiny internal filter on this one that's really not doing much back there. Low, so. But yeah, this guy's happy in there.
That's it. I'm gonna have to have a bunch of little freshwater tanks and after seeing this.
Yeah, they're fun, man. They're
I'll send you some plants, Bobby.
Yeah, inexpensive compared to salt. I mean, literally just sitting on the desk, kind of expanded this way.
Yeah, it's really
These look like, are these the ribless aquarium tanks?
No, these are just like actually, you know what? I think this one may be 14 gallon Aquian. This is a 9.5 kit. It may be an Aquian because I think they're all from those two are from Petco, so they probably
Yeah. Yeah.
This one I got off of Amazon just because good price. It's a no-namer brand, like 7.5. But yeah, now they do the Petco doesn't carry the Aqua, I just picked up their new version of the same cube.
I think it's actually, they're still all glass, I think. Like I still think it's the same manufacturer. They're just rebranded. I think we talked about that before.
Oh, really? So you go into Petco now that it's not Aqueon, it's now all glass?
It's Imaginatarium.
Imaginarium.
So
That's
it's their in-house brand, but I think that Aquina is still producing the tanks for them.
Yeah. Are they still doing the dollar per gallon? Well, I know it's not exactly a dollar per gallon. They're still doing the
50% off.
50% off sale.
Yeah. Julie Eyes. Love Julie Eyes.
yeah. And there's a couple dwarfs in there. They usually hang out back here somewhere. But like I said, they're used to kind of lights out at this point, so they're probably all like, I don't understand what's going on. But yeah, like I said, just kind of set this tank up on a whim about a year and a half ago and was like, hey, let me throw some stuff in here, and moved on to the beta tank, and then just recently set this one up with the dwarfs, which, like I said, are just battling this algae. I almost contemplate taking it down and kind of redoing it. Use some pond soil in the bottom, which I think is just leaching some nutrients in, but keep some water changes up and see a little more under control now. This was all covered.
There's just something special about fresh water. It's just so relaxing. Seeing all the plants and
Miss Shun the
just,
freshwater tanks
yeah.
seconds ago.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I enjoy it, obviously, when you're into fish keeping. Hence, I built a pond last year after we put our pool in. It was like, I could put a pond there. Why not?
Yeah, we heard the pond. Where's the pond?
Yeah, the pond it's raining. I mean, we could go take a quick peek and see if we can see anything.
That's so cool. So you got like entire zoo in your house.
Yeah, plus, we got 3 of these walking around.
That's awesome.
Yeah, let's see what outside looks like. It was raining before, but
The big tank right there.
yeah, I wish. Sharks in there. Yeah, I'm going to be cleaning this up, actually. I'm going to be taking the liner out, digging it down a little bit further.
How many gallons is that? It's awesome.
I think it's probably about 300 the way that it is, but I didn't dig it down. I really just kind of raised it up about 18 inches. Kind of hard to see. But yeah, it's about 18 inches deep, 6x6. I'm actually had just built out the surround. So right back here, I'm going to put a big 70-gallon bog filter to basically, because
Nice.
right now it's just this tiny little filter with some sponge and media in it for the 15 or so goldfish that are in there. Yeah, it looks like everybody's asleep. But yeah, I greenhoused the top of it for the winter, kept all the fish in here, overwintered them. They did well, and plants came back early because there was pretty much in the greenhouse. Just popped that off this week. But lilies are all growing back already. It's a little out of control, but like I
So
said,
you have to winterize it.
you just gotta make sure it doesn't freeze. You just need.
Gotcha.
I just built a little PVC top, threw some plastic on it to basically make it a greenhouse, and never froze once.
Cover it up, yeah.
Fish all overwintered. Found 3 babies that have grown out over the winter in there. So fish
Oh,
seem to be good.
cool.
But yeah, this was kind of there's a space over there for another water feature. We could use some more fish.
So what kind of water are you using for like the pond and the fresh water? Is it like just a chlorinated tap or?
So I have well water. I don't I didn't say I didn't chlorinate this. I mean, I did when I first filled it up, but while I'm topping it off, and if I do water change, I just go straight from my hose from my tap. Fresh water, since I have the RO, I use that. It's such a small volume that just one of the goldfish cruising out.
Okay. So you use RODI for your salt water and you use the RO for your fresh water.
Yeah, pretty much. Since I have it, I might as well just make it for the fresh water. I mean, our water here is pretty good. I haven't tested it. It's not chlorinated because obviously we have the well. Not to say that there can't be any, but I haven't really tested it. I probably could just use it for the fresh water and throw some dechlorinator in there, but they're such small tanks. I'm like, just fill up a 5-gallon bucket of RO water and just swap it out. But yeah, that's all my fish for now, at least.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's a nice feature. You get that nice trickle of the water when you're sitting out here at night.
So I'm sorry,
Or
in the pond, did you say those are koi or just regular goldfish?
just, goldfish,
Okay.
different varieties. So, got some shabunkins, some comets, so just a little variety of color, some long tail, some short tail, some fantails. Bought them from a place actually out of Florida that breeds. Been happy with them. And like I said, they bred, found three smaller, about inch and a half size babies that overwintered, and looks like we'll keep adding to the population over the years.
Very nice. Thank you for showing it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you guys for letting me show it and joining the conversation. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So does anyone have any other questions about anything? The freshwater tanks, the saltwater tank, the pond? So open floor, anybody?
Oh, look at that. This is AI generated. Swear to God. It's perfect.
I appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, listen, you can't usually go to the store and just buy colonies like this. Most people they frag them out, but I've just had these for years and I just love it. I'm just going to let it continue to grow and get oversized and pack in like it's a reef.
Yeah, and the fact that you math it is so simple. Anyone can do it.
I wasn't here for the beginning of it. How do you handle algae on the glass of that one?
Yeah, so I just use the hammer, just traditional magnet, and I'll throw the glass keeper on there. It's a little bit more back and forth because it doesn't, it's not a clean swipe every time, but yeah, just throw the blade on there, and down here you can see my edging. I don't get too close to the sand, but I let the core line kind of build up. You can see how thick it is, and it'll kind of just chunk off in pieces as I catch the blade on it.
Mhm.
So I'll let that build up. You can see over here it's a little bit built up. Let it get to about that, and you can usually just break this off pretty easily.
And then it just transplants wherever it floats.
Yeah, pretty much. And then yeah, drill through the floor. So plumbing goes down through the floor, pulled electric right up from the basement in. Try to keep everything nice and neat here. Little quick disconnect. So if we ever have to do any cleaning or maintenance, can you just pop them off?
Pretty sweet.
So your fish, do you quarantine any of those yourself or you just buy from QT vendors?
No, I actually ran the last couple of batches through QT myself for the first time. Got a 55 gallon, a 40 gallon, and then that octagon, I was using that as well for QT. So last two batches I got from Michael Stern at New York Aquatic. Bought some stuff from Jeff, the last couple orders as well. But when I was down to only a few fish that were left in here for a couple of years, and when I decided to restock, um, just buying the amount of I was trying to buy, I was probably doing like 7, 8 fish at a time, and was like, you know what, if I can run a tank, I can run a QT, and it worked out fairly well. And with the help of everybody here, of course. I mean, Jeff is the one that was basically like, hey, here's your breakdown of your 14-day dosing schedule. Set up the 40-gallon breeder, of course, 14 days, transferred them into a 55 for the clean. And yeah, I only lost first go around, I lost no fish. Second go around, I lost the butterfly. It just wouldn't eat. And two out of the 5 chromis, I lost fairly early on to what looked like uranema because they had red spots. I mean, it could have been aggression, but I'm guessing it was uranema.
Which butterfly?
I picked up a copper band.
Yeah.
Oh, they're tough.
It just wouldn't eat anything. I tried everything. It just wouldn't eat clams, mastic.
Yeah.
I didn't have a white worm culture going at the time. I wish I would have. Probably would have eaten that, but it
I
just
doubt it. I think it's all how they've been brought to us, to be honest with you.
just would not eat, man. I got him into clean water. About a week later, just found him on the bottom of the tank one day, and sucks. But
I would order one from Jeff for like just best success. Like it's just so much work to get a copper band. through quarantine.
Yeah. Yeah, every single one I've ever quarantined, they all eat something different. You know, I mean, you might get one that eats wants clams, the next one wants worms, and then the next one wants PE mysis, and it's never the same thing. It's just you have to like throw so many different foods at one to find what they're gonna start out eating, and then from there you can transition them onto other foods, but they're a pain.
So do you guys think it's the region or the cyanide more of it? Because what I've heard or what I've learned that recently it's mostly, cyanide.
Yeah, I would
I
agree
think
with that.
it's shipping damage. It's the bags
Mm,
and the long nose.
mm,
That can happen too. Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I know like the best success I ever had with them was this one vendor that and they were more expensive, but like I knew that if I got in a batch of copper bands, I could always, and they weren't eating, I could call their husbandry department and say, okay, what was this batch eating? And they would tell me, they would say, okay, this batch is eating PE mysis. And I'd put PE mysis in there and they would eat. But then, like I order them from anywhere else, and it was a real crapshoot whether or not they were going to ever eat or not. So, yeah, I think. But the thing is, they would get them in, and they would sort of condition them for about a week before they sold them. So, I mean, that kind of has a lot to do with them. But yeah, if you're buying a fish, especially from the Philippines, I think cyanide is definitely still a thing. That and if the fish has been exposed to cyanide, who knows, right?
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and when I went, obviously I live close enough to Michael's to New York Aquatics where I'm able to actually go down and like I had them feed the tank, but there was like 25 of them in there, and I could see some were eating, and like when he goes to try to catch them, it's like how do you keep track of which one you're trying to catch, and which
Oh,
one wasn't. So, I know he pretty much advertises like we'll have them eating before you pick them up, but it's no guarantee. I think that all of them are going to eat, and all of them are going to eat once you get them home.
yeah. Well, don't feel bad. I actually lost my first one, and it was a full QT. I didn't realize that I have a tank bullies in my tank that wouldn't let her pick up any food or go near anywhere. So she was stuck in a corner for a week. But the second time, I did a little bit different. I just created so much destruction in my tank, and I was like, no more bullies. They're such a beautiful fish. It's one of my favorite now.
Yeah, I didn't want like so the yellow tang was going to be the biggest fish I put in here, and I was like, you know what, if I'm going to have a yellow tang, let me put a copper band to kind of like balance out another kind of larger
Hmm.
or size and shape, and of course they are. They're just gorgeous fish. Um, the only thing I have left that I want to put in here is either add in the copper band, and right now, I'm going to try to be picking up a couple of the leopards from Jeff in this batch that he has, especially since they're a little bit bigger going into this tank. I think anything smaller, unless I put in a bunch of fish at once, these guys are going to just gang up on them.
Are you talking about the Rosses?
Yeah.
Oh, they need the sand.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a bunch.
That's it.
I got a bunch. Nice 3-inch layer there.
You should be able to find that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I find it difficult between the rocks. You have to have a bigger space. I have a leopard Ross that is 3 years old now, actually was female, now it's a male. And I find it difficult to create that bigger space because, you have rocks there. There's just not much, because when they flip on the sand, they go like they need some space to flip that sand. So, and sometimes if they're hit the rock or they could damage themselves, just something to consider unless you create like a really nice little cushion there.
Yeah. There's one in here right now. He sleeps over here, but his circadian rhythm is
Oh yeah, I see. It's perfect.
it's bedtime. So like by 8 o'clock, even though I had the lights on, I looked over and I'm like, nope, he's sleeping already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you should do another copper band because I think a copper band would look amazing in that tank. Because like you look at your tank, I don't really see anything
Mm-hmm.
that's orange. So I think a copper band would look really, really good in that tank and take care of your aptasia problem.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's only
Yep.
one. I'll use that as an excuse. I gotta get one. There's Aptasia. There's a piece right there. I haven't seen it for 5 years, but I knocked this Duncan over when I was kind of cleaning it out 2 months ago. And when I picked it back up and placed it in there, I'm like, where did that little thing come from? It must have been tucked underneath.
Yeah, when
So that's the Duncan. Sorry, Bobby, but what's in the middle of the green one? Is that what is that?
This right here,
Y- uh,
or this?
This.
That's a torch.
Oh, wow.
Cotton candy.
Is that the one they call the Holy Grail?
No, I think this one's a cotton candy. It's green.
Okay.
I think the Holy
Yeah,
Grail,
it's
like the
short tentacles.
yeah, it gets a lot of flow right here. So the tentacles, for whatever reason, don't really go too long on it. Because I've seen some that are like 6, 7, 8 inches long, but this one stayed fairly short. I mean, it's got a ton of heads, but definitely more compact.
Yeah, it looks really compact. That's why I was asking, like, what kind of coral is that? That's interesting. Looks really healthy, though.
Thanks. Yeah, this guy's a slow grower, man. I got this the same time as this. And yeah, this gold hammer just, I thought I was going to lose it for a while, but it's filled out. It's got
It's because it's right next to leather, maybe. Just FYI.
yeah. Yeah, I mean my Euphyllia has been hit or miss. Like I have there's a skeleton over here of a hammer that grew really well in my other tank, and I had it right where this one was, and this guy has taken off, but that hammer just for whatever reason did not like this tank. Same thing with the bubble coral. I mean, this thing was full. This was a huge ball, and I've moved it all over. I moved it up, moved it down, and it just, again,
I think it has something to do with the leather corals.
no,
That's the
it was in a tank surrounded with all these leathers. It was huge. It would fill up that
Oh, okay.
space. I just, again, I'm not a big tester, so I don't know, maybe just something with either the flow or the tank itself.
That's true. Yeah, no.
It's definitely shadowed. I mean, I've tried moving this everywhere though. I know somebody just made that comment. I mean, I had it kind of up over here. I even had it in the middle a little bit. I mean, this is all getting shadowed out now because this cold coral is just getting, like ridiculously overhung. Uh,
Hmm.
tried it in a couple of spots and it just never seemed to really be too happy.
Everything looks healthy, though.
Yeah, no, everything is doing well. I mean, I'm happy with where the tank is now. I'm happy with the stock load. Like I said, only thing I would put in here is maybe a couple more fish on that list and some coral. That's about it.
John said it's a beautiful tank.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll pop some more of the frags. I got the frags from Joe. Got some space over here. Maybe a couple, sprinkle them in around this hammer with some more Euphyllia. I'm gonna fill this gap up here with something, maybe another piece of Euphyllia up here as well. I mean, I just kind of like them. They do well. They fill out nicely, and yeah, this guy needs a trim. I got to cut that bottom leg off.
Did you get that red Gunnypora from Joe too?
Yeah, I think it's a purple. It wasn't the red. I think he's
Yeah, it's like the purple, dark purple.
yeah,
That one is the really cool one.
yeah. That one I'm actually gonna probably move up here pretty quickly because that does actually open up pretty well.
Yeah, it's a hardy, hardy coral. Mine literally, I think, gosh, I want to say 10 times bigger now. And the funny thing, it's not just your regular Gunnypora. And he was talking about, I think, on Humblefish, that it's like branching one because it's literally it's not growing like a bowl. It kind of shoots like the little branches out.
Yeah,
Really, you
I think you wrote in the bag, "You can't kill me." I was like, "Oh, that's good to know."
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think he threw that one in as a freebie, which was always nice. And yeah, I hadn't had any gonies yet, so I'm gonna find a nice spot for it. This spot down here gets a decent amount of light. I may just throw it kind of on that ledge and see what it does over there.
It'll be perfect right there. I think I interrupted Bobby. I'm so sorry.
No, I think I was just asking something about the copper band. I only remember. See, now I got I'm sitting here looking at this tank, like envisioning a copper band. It's not even my, I'm just like envisioning a copper band. Well, I guess what I was going to say is like, once you get a copper band and, Elisa, you know this, like, I mean, you have to have one because
Yes.
they're like a pet. I mean, they actually like will beg you to eat. They'll twitch and they will beg you to put food in. I mean, mine would see me like all the way across the room and come over to that side of the tank and start twitching and I'd go get
Yep.
worms and throw it in. I mean, it's like having a dog or a cat and you just have to have one. So, yeah.
Yeah, mine every morning. Everybody is asleep. Tank is dark. I get up early in the morning for work, and this is our time. She waits for her half clam in the pouch that I put for her.
Like,
One of my Russes figured out that he can get up early and get some of that too. So she's not very happy right now.
yeah, but yeah,
Well,
it's like having a dog or a cat, right? You know, begging for
Mm-hmm.
food first thing in the morning.
well, listen,
Oh
guys,
yeah.
I'll take donations. So, just throwing that out there.
What
Yeah.
I'll do, I'll get a clam or mussel from the supermarket, and I get a bunch of them and freeze them, and then I hang them in the middle of the tank. I'll thaw one out, and when it starts to open up just a little bit, I'll hang that in the middle of the tank on an algae clip, on a nori clip, and let the angels and the copper band bang away on it all day. The copper band that I have right now would only eat clam or mussel that way for months. And then while I was on a trip, he just started eating everything you throw in the water.
Yeah, they can be stubborn. You know, yeah, I've heard that before that sometimes, like they only want like a clam or a muzzle for, like you said, months and months and months. And you're like, is this fish ever going to eat anything else? And then just all of a sudden, out of the blue, they just will start eating other things. So yeah, you never know.
You start to hear the
Corals included. Don't
you
get any scollies.
you start to hear the pistol play out. The conch just fell over. He's starting to snap at him, like, get out of here.
I wouldn't put a scully in my tank anyway. There's 7 angelfish in there.
Can you hear it now?
Nah, he just flipped himself off the hole. So
That's cool.
yeah, these guys are cool. I got this guy from Inverted Reef. I've got one down in the quarantine right now. So I picked up two, but one didn't make shipping. So I'll have two strawberries in here. Stir up the sand a little bit. Can't remember who it was that was talking about their sand going noxic and nuking the tank. So just it's like that's a good reminder to throw something in there to sift that up a little bit.
It was
Nice. I heard
probably
you
Bill.
talking about the cleaner.org, right? The reef cleaner.
Reef cleaners.
Mhm.
Yeah, so man, I applaud you for quarantine because I've been buying stuff from them and knock on wood, I've been so lucky.
Yeah, pistol picked up a whole bunch of sand in the conch's face. It's a cool pistol. It's the like I said, Inverted Reef had it, the red with the white tips, Japanese pistol, I guess. But yeah, he took up residence under this rock. He's got a burrow right below that Galaxia. And right here, the whole back was actually opened up, but it looks like it's closed back up again. So
Yeah, reef cleaners is bad for some reason. I don't know where they collect their stuff from exactly, but like a lot of times there's threads or people on Facebook contact me and they're like, I don't understand this. I've got velvet in the tank and I haven't added fish for months. And so then we start talking about like, okay, well, what about any new corals or inverts? And a lot of times people will say, well, yeah, a week ago I did add some snails from reef cleaners, but what that's not a problem. And I'm like, well, actually, and of course you can't, you don't know for sure that's where it came from, but it does seem like there's
Right.
a correlation there because I've heard that over and over and over again. So, which actually is sort of what then caused, Tim and Heather to start up Inverted Reef because there is apparently a need for, people to buy.
Right, for the quarantine. Yeah, and I've bought several times from them as well, but knock on wood. I usually when I get the snails, I kind of acclimate them and let them I rinse them through through my water and I try to kind of brush some of the shells and stuff and clean them really good. And I
Yeah.
rinse them with my display water at least twice.
Yep. I know somebody that orders and he sits there and like there could be like 50 snails and he'll sit there with a toothbrush and he's like using a toothbrush on like all the shells and I'm like, well, that it might work. I don't know.
so I've ordered from John for years and I've always just thrown them in. This is the first time I'm quarantining just because, you know, bite me.
Yeah, the better experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not even gonna risk it, I mean, to just throw them in a tank for 45 days at 81 degrees and let them go, just to be sure. Um, I think it's just worth the extra effort. I mean, if you lose a couple snails or hermits, I mean, you're gonna lose them. I mean, you can see the graveyard in here as it is. I mean, but yeah, usually once a year I'll order, 100 pack of mix of snails and crabs and throw them in here. I mean, that's where these guys came from. This big old scarlet that's in there. I mean, he's probably been in there since the beginning. Here's another, blue leg. So yeah, I mean, this time around, I was like, you know what? Did the quarantine on the fish. Let me just do it. I don't want, 20 fish in here and have issues because, yeah,
Especially with the Antheas. Yeah.
I don't want to break down this rock again and quarantine all of them again. Like, just that was not fun. The last
Oh God.
I had my 120 still set up. So after I got them through 30 days, I threw them in the 120 for 3 months just to make sure this tank was completely eradicated of anything, or at least as much as I could. So it sat for 96 days fallow before I put the fish back in.
Yeah, you've done a good job, and the fish look really healthy too,
No, I appreciate it. Like I said, to appreciate the opportunity to show it off and hope you guys enjoyed.
Yeah, very much. So any other questions, comments, or anything else anyone else wants to talk about?
I will post that picture on Humble Fish that generated by AI. Reminds me of your tank.
Yeah,
Picture
it's
perfect.
not AI.
Yeah, it's getting like on Facebook, you can't even tell what is a real video and what's not, I mean, anymore.
Yeah, I know. So when I was at Denver at the Reef Stock, they actually Richard Ross and a couple other people had a good conference about talking about the AI and how it's influenced reefing community nowadays. So it was a really good one.
Is it influencing it in a positive or negative way?
There's definitely more negative, especially like you mentioned the images that generated by AI and people believe in that and reposting it. But in technology and controlling some of your tank, that might be not a bad. There's positive, there's negative,
Yeah, yeah,
like everything else, right?
yeah, pros and cons.
Mhm. We just have to be aware.
Yep. So anything else? I mean, I don't want to wrap this up too early, but if there's anything else anyone wants to talk about, we can chit chat, or anybody has any questions or just anything at all, really.
Everybody's quiet. Beautiful tank. Well done.
Very well done. Very much so. Yeah.
They're all like, all right, can we go to bed now? They're starting to color back up again. Their nighttime colors. Like, come on, we're supposed to be tucked in. What are we doing?
And so sounds like what my fish would be like if I did one of these things.
I know, Bruce, we're gonna have to, maybe for you, we'll have to do like a Saturday morning or Sunday morning or something.
That's not going to work.
Not gonna work. That's right, because you
I work weekends at the local public aquarium.
okay.
I'll be playing Pied Piper
Okay. All
to
right.
20 or 43-year-olds.
What what Sanjay did for his was just like pre-recorded like videos of the different parts of the tank you wanted to talk about.
Oh, that could work.
Yeah, and then basically put it together like a presentation and some videos, and could go through the videos for questions if needed.
Yeah, that could definitely work. That sounds like a lot of work for me,
What
though.
happened, Sanjay?
Yeah, is he like, I haven't really kept up on that. Is he like, what happened to his tank and his corals and fish and all that?
Had about a 76-hour blackout.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
Oh, it sounds like it's all gone.
he had some fish survive, not a lot.
yeah.
And I think the carp is all gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it didn't sound good or look good from what everybody was sharing with the pictures, man. That's just heartbreaking and just demoralizing. That's like I said, I had to break this down once, and this is only 115 gallons, and it wasn't even full at that point, and that wasn't fun.
Yeah.
Do you have a backup for your tank?
Yeah, actually, I have. You can't really see it, but yeah, we have a whole house generator. So
Okay.
Nice.
any power outages, generator kicks on, and the whole house lights back up again. So knock on wood, we have natural gas delivered right to the house. So, in essence, we could pretty much run forever on that generator as long as the gas lines are intact.
Well, you're prepared.
Yeah, it was one of the few things we were like, yeah, we definitely want to put that in. And even though we have buried lines here, like we've lost more power here than the house we lived in before. And, it hasn't been anything for an extended period of time, but, I think the longest was probably 6, 7 hours. And I'd be concerned with my tank at that point.
Yeah, it's long enough.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's something I'm gonna have to look into once if we move to Florida, because I mean we're like 2 miles or something from the Gulf. So I mean, if a hurricane rips through, I'm gonna lose everything unless I've got a something like that figured out.
Listen, the generator costs less than all this tank put together. So to me, it's
Yeah.
worth the investment.
Cheap insurance.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
or the time that you spend on all of that, and yeah, it would be just I'm surprised that Sanjay didn't have anything in place, which is
Well, he said like I remember seeing the Facebook post, and he was like in 32 years of living in that house or whatever.
yeah, I
Never had
saw
a
that too.
Yeah, he had never had a prolonged power outage. So I guess it kind of is like not in your mind anymore because it's never happened. So yeah.
I don't know. My husband was telling me the same thing. It's never happens here. It's never happens here. For me, the life of the animals was like my priority. As soon as like before Christmas last year or year before actually, I was like, I'm getting that battery back up, at least for the power heads. I know the longest if we go, at least I have the power heads going in the tank. At least some sort of, sump is a different story.
Movement, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
he
and
had battery backups, right? It was just not for 36 hours,
Yeah,
right?
72 hours, whatever. Yeah.
So yeah,
yeah.
72 hours or
I mean,
It's like at that point, it's like it's gonna die. Like something's gonna die here.
and
Yeah.
it's always a question, right? Like we cannot afford to like completely protect our tanks, right? Like it's just not
Yeah.
feasible. So you got to pick and choose where you want to, spend your money and effort, right? And Sanjay's analysis was that prolonged power outages were rare enough for him to not be worth the extra effort, right? And that
Yeah,
calculus
but
was wrong.
right. And sounds like he picked up the generator and within a couple days. And yeah, it's so heartbreaking to see. Do you guys see the post of the buckets and buckets of just corals, dead corals?
I didn't see that. I saw all of it decaying like way after the power came back on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he
Wow.
removed buckets of stuff that he was growing for 20 plus years, right? I I
Well,
I can only imagine.
Those colonies are enormous.
enormous.
Hmm.
Yeah,
But
those
he
those
has like a
five gal
crash
the
every
5 gallon buckets full of dead coral was what I saw. It was just like, oh man, that's terrible.
Hmm.
Like 10, 15 buckets full. It was just terrible.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was amazed.
Ah,
I used to live in Florida, like because you're like in Florida, and like there would be like a hurricane or something, and all these people are on Facebook like begging for a battery powered air pump. It's like, how do you not at least have a battery powered air pump if you live in Florida? Because
mm,
it's only a matter of time, right?
Yeah.
and he ran out of D cell batteries and like nowhere was open that sold them,
Hmm.
right? Like you don't think about that,
Yeah.
right? Like it's that those are
Well,
becoming
yeah,
hard to find these days.
and the stores will run out of them real fast when the storm's on the way.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
You know,
everybody goes and buys everything up in hordes, and yeah, I tell everybody, man, when they ask about the generator, I'm like, it is the best investment we made, not only for the tank, but like power goes out and we continue on with life while our neighbors are sitting in dark, and you can shower, you can watch TV, like your lights are on, your heat's on, your air conditioning, because when you lose power, it's usually either in the dead of the winter or the dead of the summer, and it's either 95 degrees or 0 degrees. It always works that way.
All right, I have to get going here.
Especially,
And you
especially
don't,
like, just a simple thing, refrigerator, keep all your
Yeah.
food at least.
yeah, you don't
Just
you don't wind up throwing out 30 pounds of stank meat.
exactly. Yeah. Anyway, so when I got the battery, I was like, well, I kind of looked at it for 2 months. I didn't hook it up, and I'm glad I hooked it up because we did lose the power for almost 6 hours in the midsummer, and it was really hot. So that was a really good test. I was like, okay, that was good.
Yeah, I lost all
Some
my tanks to Katrina. That was a long time ago, but I mean, it was nothing. Generator wouldn't help me there because we had to
Yeah.
wait. So
Something to keep in mind is even with the generator, if you're invested enough in your tank, a small battery might keep the circulation pumps going for like 6 hours or so. So if you're sleeping and there's a power outage, you don't have to go outside and crank up a generator. I I've worked on tanks professionally for like 15 years, and I've had so many situations where somebody has gone out of town and a GFCI tripped in a basement when they were away because they adjusted the thermostat, they made the house hotter than normal, and in 6 hours they lost fish that they've had for a decade. Another
Mm,
client, he had a generator about the size of a small room. It was a huge generator. He lived in an uber wealthy area, very big house. He had a full-time, not a full-time, but he had a service guy locally who would service this generator on a regular basis. He was out there every single month making sure that this generator was good. But it was 6 or 7 years old, and when a huge snowstorm hit, the generator failed and they needed to get a part in. Getting a part in for a 7 year generator, if the guy had a $200 worth of batteries, he would have saved his 410 gallon tank. But instead, I was driving through a snowstorm bringing him the batteries. And
aw.
he got a steep emergency call bill for that particular service. So an inexpensive battery just to keep you going overnight, so you don't have to crank on the generator, or if the generator doesn't work right away. Mark Levinson always had a generator,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't work when he really, really needed one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just consider backups of your backups.
Yeah, so
The EcoFlow batteries are
yep, that's
awesome
what
and
I have.
inexpensive, super safe.
Delta 2. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I got. Yeah, and
they're
that one
awesome.
showing was my 3 wave pumps, and I'm thinking about plugging in my return pump too. I wonder if just having return pump instead of the wave makers, it will last me like at least 48 hours for what it's showing.
Yeah, test it out. It's up to you. I mean, it depends on how long. If you're going to be away from the tank and no one can get there to unplug the return pump on a very long-term power outage, you might want to leave the return out. But I don't know. That's a tricky call.
Yeah, because you think about the sump area, right? You don't want it to
Yeah,
get stagnant there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep, backups are good. Yeah, it's like I tell people too. I mean, always have like a backup return pump, a backup skimmer pump. Just
very true.
I mean, it may just sit there, but it's not going to go bad, right? So down the road,
Yep.
you might need it eventually.
Yeah, that's the hobby. There's always redundancy, right? That's what they call it.
I mean, I remember like on one of my tanks, my return pump went out the morning that we were supposed to leave for Florida. And like my return pump code goes out. I've got my wife and her parents and all, people like, waiting on me. to fix this tank so we can leave for Florida. And luckily, the local fish store was open and had a return pump that fit my plumbing and everything. But yeah, I felt stupid. I'm like, I really should have had just a return pump. I could have just, swap it out and be done with this.
Same with the heaters too.
Yeah.
They always go out when you go on vacation, by the way.
Always something bad happens every time you go on vacation to your tank.
Ain't that the truth?
Yep. So, all righty. Well, it's about 9:30 where I'm at, and I know our host, it's 10:30 where he's at. So, there's any other questions or anything? I think we'll just go ahead and wrap this up, and I'll go ahead and get this on the YouTube channel in the next couple of days. I don't know when our next tank tour Tuesday is. We don't have anybody like scheduled. And I talked to Vince maybe about taking a break for a couple of months because I'm going to be moving in the next couple of months. But he had talked about just maybe doing a not like recording it, but just maybe doing sort of I don't
Hey,
know.
now
All right, like just an
let's
open session. Just we all like maybe in June or July, you'll all get together and just kind of BS and talk a little bit. So maybe we'll do that.
Virtual fish club meeting.
Exactly. Yeah, virtual fish club meeting. I like that.
sounds good to me.
Yeah. So, okay, everyone. Well, thank you for joining, and Tim, thank you for showing off your aquariums. And I mean, they're all beautiful, and this one in particular is just awesome, and makes me want to have a soft coral reef again. I can tell you that.
Thanks, I appreciate it. I love the softies, the little LPS, and maybe one day I'll dive into the sticks. But for now, I enjoy it. I like the flow and just the textures and the simplicity of taking care of it. So I appreciate everybody jumping on and letting me show it off.
Yeah, movement's really gorgeous.
Yep. Yep. Looks really
Thank
good.
you. It's beautiful.
Yep. All right. Well, good night, everyone. We'll see you on the forum.
Good
Good
night.
night. Be well.
Good night.